Item 400. Excavation and backfill for structures. 1. Description. Excavate for placement and construction of structures and backfill structures. Cut and restore pavement. 2. Materials. Use materials that meet the requirements of the following items. Item 401, flowable backfill. Item 421, hydraulic cement concrete, and DMS 4600, hydraulic cement. 3. Construction. 3.1 Excavation. 3.1.1 General. Excavate to the lines and grades shown on the plans or as directed. Provide slopes, benching, sheeting, bracing, pumping, and baling as necessary to maintain the stability and safety of excavations up to 5 feet deep. Excavation protection for excavations deeper than 5 feet are governed by Item 402, trench excavation protection, and Item 403, temporary special shoring. Use satisfactory excavated material as backfill or as embankment fill in accordance with Item 132, embankment. Dispose of material not incorporated into the final project off the right-of-way in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations. Keep any topsoil that has been removed separate, and replace it, as nearly as feasible, in its original position when excavating for installation of structures across private property or beyond the limits of the embankment. Restore the area to an acceptable condition. Excavate drilled shafts in accordance with Item 416, drilled shaft foundations. 3.1.1.1 Obstructions. Remove obstructions to the proposed construction, including trees and other vegetation, debris, and structures, over the width of the excavation to a depth of 1 feet below the bottom of excavation. Remove as required to clear the new structure and plug in an approved manner if abandoned storm drains, sewers, or other drainage systems are encountered. Restore the bottom of the excavation to grade by backfilling after removing obstructions in accordance with this item. Dispose of surplus materials in accordance with federal, state, and local regulations. 3.1.1.2 Excavation in streets. Cut pavement and base to neat lines when structures are installed in streets, highways, or other paved areas. Restore pavement structure after completion of excavation and backfilling. Maintain and control traffic in accordance with the approved traffic control plan and the TxDOT. 3.1.1.3 Utilities. Comply with the requirements of Article 7.15, responsibility for damage claims. Conduct work with minimum disturbance of existing utilities, and coordinate work in or near utilities with the utility owners. Inform utility owners before work begins, allowing them enough time to identify, locate, reroute, or make other adjustments to utility lines. Avoid cutting or damaging underground utility lines that are to remain in place. Promptly notify the utility company if damage occurs. Provide temporary flumes across the excavation while open if an active sanitary sewer line is damaged during excavation, and restore the lines when backfilling has progressed to the original bedding lines of the cut sewer. 3.1.1.4 Dewatering. Construct or place structures in the presence of water only if approved. Place precast members, pipe, and concrete only on a dry, firm surface. Remove water by baling, pumping, well point installation, deep wells, under drains, or other approved method. Remove standing water in a manner that does not allow water movement through or alongside concrete being placed if structures are approved for placement in the presence of water. Pump or bale only from a suitable sump separated from the concrete work while placing structural concrete or for a period of at least 36 hours thereafter. Pump or bale during placement of seal concrete only to the extent necessary to maintain a static head of water within the cofferdam. Pump or bale to dewater inside a sealed cofferdam only after the seal has aged at least 36 hours. Place a stabilizing material in the bottom of the excavation if the bottom of an excavation cannot be dewatered to the point the subgrade is free of mud or it is difficult to keep reinforcing steel clean. Use flexible base, cement stabilized base, or backfill, lean concrete, or other approved stabilizing material. Provide concrete with at least 275 pounds of cement per cubic yard, if lean concrete is used, and place to a minimum depth of 3 inches. Stabilizing material placed for the convenience of the contractor will be at the contractor's expense. 3.1.2 Bridge foundations and retaining walls. Do not disturb material below the bottom of footing grade. Do not backfill to compensate for excavation that has extended below grade. Fill the area with concrete at the time the footing is placed if excavation occurs below the proposed footing grade. Additional concrete placed will be at the contractor's expense. Take core samples to determine the character of the supporting materials if requested. Provide an intact sample adequate to judge the character of the founding material. Take these cores when the excavation is close to completion. Cores should be approximately 5 feet deeper than the proposed founding grade. Remove loose material if the founding stratum is rock or another hard material, and clean and cut it to a firm surface that is level, stepped, or serrated, as directed. Clean out soft seams, and fill with concrete at the time the footing is placed. Place the foundation once the engineer has inspected the excavation and authorized changes have been made to provide a uniform bearing condition. If the material at the footing grade of a retaining wall, bridge bent, or pier is a mixture of compressible and incompressible material. 3.1.3 Cofferdams. The term cofferdam designates any temporary or removable structure constructed to hold surrounding earth, water, or both out of the excavation, whether the structure is formed of soil, timber, steel, concrete, or a combination of these. Use pumping wells or well points for dewatering cofferdams if required. Submit details and design calculations for sheet pile or other types of cofferdams requiring structural members bearing the seal of a licensed professional engineer for review before constructing the cofferdam. The department reserves the right to reject designs. Design structural systems to comply with the TxDOT standard specifications for highway bridges or TxDOT LRFD bridge design specifications. Interior dimensions of cofferdams must provide enough clearance for the construction, inspection, and removal of required forms and, if necessary, enough room to allow pumping outside the forms. Extend sheet pile cofferdams well below the bottom of the footings, and make concrete seals as well braced and watertight as practicable. Use Class E concrete for foundation seals unless otherwise specified. Place concrete foundation seals in accordance with Item 420, Concrete Substructures. Seals placed for the convenience of the contractor will be at the contractor's expense. Make the excavation deep enough to allow for swelling of the material at the base of the excavation during pile driving operations when the engineer judges it to be impractical to dewater inside a cofferdam, and a concrete seal is to be placed around piling driven within the cofferdam. Remove swelling material to the bottom of the seal grade after driving the piling. Remove the foundation material to exact footing grades where it is possible to dewater inside the cofferdam without placing a seal after driving piling. Do not backfill a foundation to compensate for excavation that has been extended below grade. Fill such areas below grade with concrete at the time the seals or footings are placed. Remove cofferdams after completing the substructure without disturbing or damaging the structure unless otherwise provided. 3.1.4 Culverts and storm drains. When the design requires special bedding conditions for culverts or storm drains, an excavation diagram will be shown on the plans. Do not exceed these limits of excavation. Construct pipe structures in an open cut with vertical sides extending to 0.1 feet above the pipe unless otherwise shown on the plans. When site conditions or the plans do not prohibit sloping the cut, the excavation may be stepped or laid back to a stable slope beginning 1 feet above the pipe. Maintain the stability of the excavation throughout the construction period. Construct the embankment for pipe to be installed in fill above natural ground to an elevation at least 1 feet above the top of the pipe, and then excavate for the pipe. 3.1.4.1 Unstable material. Remove the material to a depth of no more than 2 feet below the grade of the structure when unstable soil is encountered at established footing grade, unless the engineer authorizes additional depth. Replace soil removed with stable material in uniform layers no greater than 8 inches deep, loose measurement. Each layer must have enough moisture to be compacted by rolling or tamping as required to provide a stable foundation for the structure. Use special materials such as flexible base, cement stabilized backfill, or other approved material when it is not feasible to construct a stable foundation as outlined above. 3.1.4.2 Incompressible material. Remove the incompressible material to 6 inches below the footing grade, backfill with an approved compressible material, and compact in accordance with section 400.3.3, backfill, if rock, hard rock, or other incompressible material is encountered at established footing grade while placing prefabricated elements. 3.2 Shaping and bedding. Place at least 2 inches of fine granular material for precast box sections on the base of the excavation before placing the box sections. Use bedding as shown in Figure 1 for pipe installations. Use Class C bedding unless otherwise shown on the plans. The engineer may require the use of a template to secure reasonably accurate shaping of the foundation material. Undercut the excavation at least 4 inches where cement stabilized backfill is indicated on the plans and backfill with stabilized material to support the pipe or box at the required grade. Figure 1. Bedding diagrams. See figure in specifications. 3.3 Backfill. 3.3.1 General. Backfill the excavation after placement of the permanent structure as soon as practical. Use backfill free from stones large enough to interfere with compaction, large or frozen lumps that will not break down readily under compaction, and wood or other extraneous material. Obtain backfill material from excavation or from other sources. Place backfill in layers no greater than 10 inches deep, loose measurement, in areas not supporting a completed roadbed, retaining wall, or embankment. Place backfill in uniform layers no greater than 8 inches deep, loose measurement, in areas supporting a portion of a roadbed, retaining wall, or embankment. Compact each layer to meet the density requirements of the roadbed, retaining wall, embankment material, or as shown on the plans. Bring each layer of backfill material to the moisture content needed to obtain the required density. Use mechanical tamps or rammers to compact the backfill. Rollers may be used to compact backfill if feasible. Cohesionless materials may be used for backfilling. Use cohesionless materials that conform to the requirements of Table 1. Table 1. Cohesionless material gradation limits. Sieve size and percent retained. Sieve size 3 inches with 0% retained. Sieve size number 10 see Note 1. Sieve size number 200 with 90 to 100% retained. 1 Number 10 sieve requirements are 0 to 30% retained when used as aggregate for cement stabilized backfill. Compact cohesionless materials using vibratory equipment, water ponding, or a combination of both. 3.3.2 Bridge foundations, retaining walls, manholes/inlets, and box culverts. Place backfill against the structure only after the concrete has reached the design strength required in Item 421, hydraulic cement concrete. Backfill retaining walls with material meeting the requirements of Item 423, retaining walls. Backfill around bridge foundations, manholes/inlets and culverts using material with particles no more than 4 inches in greatest dimension and a gradation that permits thorough compaction. Use rock or gravel mixed with soil if the percentage of fines is enough to fill all voids and ensure a uniform and thoroughly compacted mass of proper density. Use mechanical tamps and rammers to avoid damage to the structure where backfill material is being placed too close to the structure to permit compaction with belading and rolling equipment. Avoid wedging action of backfill against structures. Step or serrate slopes bounding the excavation to prevent such action. Place backfill uniformly around bridge foundations. Place backfill equally and in uniform layers along both sides of manholes/inlets and culverts. The engineer may require backfilling of structures excavated into hard, erosion-resistant material, and subject to erosive forces, with stone or lean concrete. Box culverts may be opened to traffic as soon as enough backfill and embankment has been placed over the top to protect culverts against damage from heavy construction equipment. Repair damage to culvert caused by construction traffic at no additional expense to the department. 3.3.3 Pipe. Bring backfill material to the proper moisture condition after installing bedding and pipe as required and place it equally along both sides of the pipe in uniform layers no greater than 8 inches deep, loose measurement. Compact each lift mechanically. Thoroughly compact materials placed under the haunches of the pipe to prevent damage or displacement of the pipe. Place backfill in this manner to the top of pipe elevation. Place and compact backfill above the top of the pipe in accordance with section 400.3.3.1, General. The engineer may reject backfill material containing more than 20% by weight of material retained on a 3 inches sieve with large lumps not easily broken down or that cannot be spread in loose layers. Material excavated by a trenching machine will generally meet the requirements of this section as long as large stones are not present. Place and compact additional material where pipe extends beyond the toe of slope of the embankment and the depth of cover provided by backfill to the original ground level is less than the minimum required by the specifications for the type of pipe involved until the minimum cover has been provided. 3.3.4 Cement stabilized backfill. Backfill the excavation to the elevations shown with cement stabilized backfill when shown on the plans. Use cement stabilized backfill that contains aggregate conforming to the gradation limits shown in Table 1, water, and a minimum of 7% hydraulic cement based on the dry weight of the aggregate, in accordance with Tex 120E. Place cement stabilized backfill equally along the sides of structures to prevent strain on or displacement of the structure. Fill voids when placing cement stabilized backfill. Use hand-operated tampers if necessary to fill voids. 3.3.5 Flowable backfill. Backfill the excavation with flowable backfill to the elevations indicated when shown on the plans. Prevent the structure from being displaced during the placement of the flowable fill, and prevent flowable fill from entering manholes/inlets and culverts, and drainage structures. 4. Measurement. This is a plan's quantity measurement item. The quantity to be paid is the quantity shown in the proposal, unless modified by Article 9.2, Plan's quantity measurement. Additional measurements or calculations will be made if adjustments of quantities are required. 4.1 Structural excavation. Unless shown on the plans as a pay item, structural excavation quantities shown are for information purposes only. When structural excavation is specified as a pay item, structural excavation for pipe head walls, inlets, manholes, culvert, or storm drain extensions less than 15 feet long, bridge abutments, retaining walls, and side road and private entrance pipe culverts will not be measured. No allowance will be made for variance from plan's quantity incurred by an alternate bid. When specified as a pay item, structural excavation will be measured by the cubic yard as computed by the average end areas method. Excavation diagrams on the plans take precedence over the provisions of this article. 4.1.1 Boundaries of measurement. 4.1.1.1 Pipe. 4.1.1.1.1 Pipe up to 42 inches. 4 Pipe up to 42 inches nominal or equivalent diameter, no material outside of vertical planes 1 feet beyond and parallel to the horizontal projection of the outside surfaces of the pipe will be included. 4.1.1.1.2 Pipe larger than 42 inches. 4 pipes larger than 42 inches nominal or equivalent diameter, no material outside of vertical planes located 2 feet beyond and parallel to the horizontal projection of the outside surfaces of the pipe will be included. Quantities for excavation in fill above natural ground include 1 feet above the top of the pipe regardless of the height of completed fill. Excavation for pipe will be measured between the extreme ends of the completed structure including end appurtenances as shown on the plans and from center line to center line of inlets, manholes, etc. 4.1.1.2 Structural plate structures. No material outside of vertical planes 3 feet beyond and parallel to the horizontal projection of the outside surfaces of the structure will be included. When the quality of the existing soil or embankment is less than that of the proposed backfill material, the limits of measurement will be extended to vertical planes located 1/2 of the span beyond the horizontal projection of the outside surfaces of the structure. 4.1.1.3 Footings, walls, boxes, and other excavation. No material outside of vertical planes 1 feet beyond and parallel to the edges of the footings or outside walls will be included whether or not a cofferdam or shoring is used. When plans provide the option of cast-in-place or precast boxes, measurement will be based on the cast-in-place option. Where excavation in addition to that allowed for the footings is required for other portions of the structure, measurement for the additional excavation will be limited laterally by vertical planes 1 feet beyond the face of the member and parallel to it, and vertically to a depth of 1 feet below the bottom of the member. 4.1.1.4 Excavation near roadways and channels. At structure sites other than culverts and pipe excavations, the measurement of structural excavation will include only material below or outside the limits of the completed road or channel excavation. Roadway and channel excavation will be paid under Item 110, Excavation. For culverts except side road and private entrance culverts, excavation within the limits of the structure and below or outside the limits of the completed roadway excavation will be measured as structural excavation. 4.1.2 False work. No measurement will be made for excavation necessary for placing forms or false work that exceeds the limits given in section 400.4.1.1, Boundaries of measurement. 4.1.3 Swelling. Measurement will not include materials removed below footing grades to compensate for anticipated swelling due to pile driving, nor will it include material required to be removed due to swelling beyond the specified limits during pile driving operations. 4.1.4 Cave-ins. Measurement will not include additional volume caused by slips, slides, cave-ins, silting, or fill material resulting from the action of the elements or the contractor's operation. 4.1.5 Undercut. Where rock or other incompressible or unstable material is undercut to provide a suitable foundation for pipe or box sections, such material below grade directed to be removed will be measured for payment. 4.1.6 Grade change. Additional measurement will be made of the volume of excavation involved in the lowering or raising of the elevation of a footing, foundation, or structure unit, when such grade change is authorized. 4.2 Cement stabilized backfill. Cement stabilized backfill will be measured by the cubic yard as shown on the plans. 4.3 Cutting and restoring pavement. Cutting and restoring pavement will be measured by the square yard as shown on the plans. Excavation below pavement or base will be measured as structural excavation of the pertinent type. 5. Payment. 5.1 Structural excavation. Unless specified as a pay item, structural excavation and backfill performed, and material furnished in accordance with this item will not be paid for directly but are subsidiary to pertinent items. When structural excavation is specified as a pay item, the excavation and backfill work performed, and materials furnished will be paid for at the unit price bid for structural excavation, box, structural excavation, pipe, and structural excavation, bridge, dot. This price includes concrete to compensate for excavation that has extended below grade for bridge foundations and retaining walls, and backfilling and compacting areas that were removed as part of structural excavation. Cofferdams or other measures necessary for supporting excavations less than 5 feet deep will not be measured or paid for directly but will be subsidiary to the contract. Foundation seal concrete for cofferdams, when required, will be paid for as provided in the pertinent items. If no direct method of payment is provided in the contract, the work will be measured and paid for in accordance with Article 9.7, Payment for Extra Work and Force Account Method. Seal placed for the convenience of the contractor will not be paid for. Unless otherwise provided, stone or lean concrete backfill around structures as provided for in Section 400.3.3.2, bridge foundations, retaining walls, manholes/inlets, and box culverts, will be measured and paid for as extra work in accordance with Article 9.7, Payment for Extra Work and Force Account Method. When structural excavation is specified as a pay item, a partial payment of 50% of the bid price will be made for structural excavation completed to the satisfaction of the engineer but not backfilled. The remaining amount will be paid upon completion of backfilling. When the contractor elects to excavate beyond plan requirements, no measurement will be made of the additional volume. 5.2 Removal and replacement of unsuitable or incompressible material. Removal and replacement of material will be paid for if directed. Removal and replacement of material or placement of special material made necessary by the softening of founding material due to the contractor's sequence of work or operation, will be at the contractor's expense. Special material used or additional excavation made for the contractor's convenience will not be paid for. 5.2.1 Structural excavation as a pay item. Where special materials are not required or specified, payment for the removal and replacement of unstable or incompressible material will be made at a price equal to 200% of the unit price bid per cubic yard for structural excavation. When the contractor elects to remove and replace material deeper than directed, no measurement will be made on that portion below the directed elevation. This price is full compensation for removing the unstable or incompressible material, furnishing, hauling, placing, and compacting suitable replacement material, and equipment, labor, tools, and incidentals. When the plans specify or when directed, the use of special materials such as flexible base, cement stabilized backfill, or other special material, payment for excavation below footing grades will be made at the unit price bid for structural excavation. Payment for furnishing, hauling, placing, and compacting the flexible base, cement stabilized backfill, or other special materials will be made at the unit price bid for these items in the contract, or, if the required material is not a bid item, in accordance with Article 9.7, Payment for Extra Work and Force Account Method. 5.2.2 Structural excavation not a pay item. Where special materials for backfill are not required or specified, payment for the authorized removal and replacement of unstable or incompressible material will be measured and paid for at $15 per cubic yard of material removed. This price is full compensation for removing the unstable or incompressible material, furnishing, hauling, placing, and compacting suitable replacement material, and equipment, labor, tools, and incidentals. When the plans specify or when directed, the use of special materials such as flexible base, cement stabilized backfill, or other special material, excavation below the footing grades will be paid for at $10 per cubic yard. Payment for furnishing, hauling, placing, and compacting the flexible base, cement stabilized backfill, or other special materials will be made at the unit price bid for these items, or, if the required material is not a bid item, in accordance with Article 9.7, Payment for Extra Work and Force Account Method. 5.3 Lowering of a structure foundation. If the engineer requires a structure foundation to be lowered to an elevation below the grade shown on the plans, over-excavation will be paid in accordance with Table 2. Table 2. Payment for required over-excavation. See table in specifications. 5.4 Cement stabilized backfill. Cement stabilized backfill will be paid for at the unit price bid for cement stabilized backfill. 5.5 Cutting and restoring pavement. Cutting and restoring pavement will be paid for at the unit price bid for cutting and restoring pavement of the type specified. Work done to repair damage to base or pavement incurred outside the limits shown on the plans, or the limits authorized, will not be measured for payment. The unit prices bid are full compensation for excavation including removing obstructions and plugging drainage systems, bedding and backfilling including placing, sprinkling, and compaction of material, soundings, cleaning and filling seams, constructing and removing cofferdams, dewatering, sheeting, or bracing excavations up to and including 5 feet deep, pumps, drills, explosives, disposition of surplus material, cutting pavement and base to neat lines, and materials, hauling, equipment, labor, tools, and incidentals. Flowable backfill will be paid for as provided in item 401, flowable backfill. Protection methods for open excavations deeper than 5 feet will be measured and paid for as required under item 402, trench excavation protection, or item 403, temporary special shoring.